Hello. Hi, my name is Brendan, and this is Accidental Origin, your weekly writing web show. What's going on, guys? What is going on? Doing things a little different today. It's been cold. I'm wearing a hoodie. It's cold in Canada. Who knew? Who knew? As well as I didn't set up lights today. I'm using natural light. It's made this side of my face look a little dark, but whatever. I kind of am a little behind schedule today, and I didn't want to delay too much by dealing with that stuff. It's fine. The colors are good, and that's the important part. I just want to make sure my colors are good. Because too much yellow light is... I don't know what that means, Johnny. Sorry. Oh, it's Monday. I was like, Sam, you're home? What? No, that actually makes sense. it's Monday. Cool. So, yeah, welcome to day one of this drafting week. I've determined that all of my writing weeks are drafting weeks for some reason. I'm not sure why. Despite the fact that I might not actually be doing all that much drafting. But yeah, I was watching John Derek Murphy this morning. Shout outs to him. Does that work? Yeah, it works. So yeah, shout outs to John Derek Murphy. He reminded me of kind of what I started out with this show of, we're here to learn. We're here to get better. Yesterday went mediocre. I thought it was okay. Not great. Not because it was necessarily not entertaining or bad or anything. It just, I didn't accomplish what I set out to accomplish. But that's okay. I'm going to turn off the autofocus there because I don't need it. And that's okay. We're learning, right? I'm totally stealing that, Sam. God damn. It's so good. Title is now updated. Officially jacked. Alright. But yeah, so yesterday was okay. Hey Erica, what's going on? But we're not gonna let that stop us today. We're going to continue to do something important, I think, maybe. I was thinking a lot this morning and last night about what did I want to work on, like what was the thing, because I was talking yesterday about how there was stuff there's stuff I wanted to work on, but it wasn't what I was actually working on screen. That was unfortunate. I hate being in that mindset. My hair is actually great today. I just decided that this really fit. This hat really fit this outfit with the yellow shirt and all. So I just went with it. It is what it is. So Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. So yeah, I've been thinking a lot about what I wanted to do, and I'm really shh every now and again. Every now and again. Also, I'm hardcore patriotic. Plus, the Jays just won 3 in a row. 'Cause I follow sports. Picked my fantasy draft team last night for hockey. All that good stuff. Anyway. So yeah, I was thinking about what I really wanted to work on, and to be honest, as much as I want to write a short story because the market is much bigger and better, I don't feel like that's my best skill, to be honest. I don't feel like that's the type of writing I'm best at. So I'm wondering if maybe it'd be more interesting for me, and perhaps for you guys as well, if I worked on something a little different. If I worked on maybe a comic or a short screenplay or something. And that might actually be a lot better. Maybe even a play. I could write a play. Done it before. Yeah. So yeah, let me know what you think about that. If I'm insane or crazy or whatever. Just because I've been working on a short story on screen for a while, and that's cool and all. But I want to showcase some of the other stuff. And I honestly do think that prose is one of my worst skills. Not as bad as poetry, because I'm really bad at poetry. But yeah. That's impressive, Erica. I know you were talking about that yesterday. That's actually very impressive for a week's work. I hope it continues like that. I worked on a novel for, I don't know, 6 months, and I think that I only got 17,000 words. So you're almost halfway to where I am in like a week. That being said, that was like the first real attempt. That was like my first real attempt at writing a novel. And I want to finish that someday. I think it's very good. Or I think it's very solid. It is what it is. Yeah, I think that's impressive. I can't write that fast. That being said, I tend to do less just put things down and more a little bit more deliberate thinking. But yeah. But I definitely think I'm stronger in a scripting sense. Oh sure, like no, totally. I get that. Like I know writers who are like that. Sam is very much like that. He writes a ton of things and then cuts half of it or more. I'm just not that type of writer, and I think that has a lot to do with what I'm talking about right now, about the idea of being more of a scripter, and more of someone who deals with narrative in that way. Brendan is my real name, yeah. I say that at the start of every show, Erica. Come on. Start and end of every show. Anyway, I'm just kidding. I don't know if you've ever actually been here for the start or end of a show. Right, but like the type of writing I do isn't really about faking it either. It's just different. But yeah, I honestly think that I'm better at scripting. It's okay. I was just teasing. Just teasing. So yeah, what do you? No, I already asked that question. So yeah, I think that's what I want to do, and I also kind of wanted, now that I'm thinking about it, if I do this, I think it'd also be pretty interesting for you guys to sort of see what to see kind of the difference of taking a prose idea and moving it to a different medium, right? Like that difference of how they're constructed and all that. Yeah, I'm weird. I've also been a person of many nicknames over my life. Like, everyone calls me something different, so I'm very used to that, and I'm cool with it. Like, my brother hasn't called me by my first name in probably 10 years, give or take, at this point. No, wait, he did it once, and I was shocked. Toying with what idea, Erica? Showing kind of like that difference, showing the process. So I know you're working on a screenplay. I don't know how much experience you have with screenplays, but I studied screenwriting in college. Like, that's what I studied specifically. So I actually know a lot more about that than the other stuff, in my opinion, because I've spent more dedicated, like, professional time at it, I guess. Is that a strange statement? That's kind of a strange statement. Because I would say I've been doing prose for longer, but I think in terms of what I'm good at and what I've kind of stuck with me, I think scripting has definitely been more of a bam. Oh, I see. So I find that it's harder to make a screenplay into a novel than to make a novel into a screenplay. In a certain sense. It depends. What kind of nicknames? All kinds of nicknames. Most people call me B-Row. A few people call me Peace Million, which is my other online nick in a lot of places. Like when I played hockey, they called me Smiley and Bubbles because of my glasses. I had a couple friends back in elementary school who called me Yoey. Just lots of stuff. Yes, screenplays are a lot shorter, but they're much more difficult in a certain sense. Because novels are much denser. Sam is correct. Screenplay writers are the highest paid writers per word by far. It comes out to something like, I think on average it's like $400 a word or something. Yeah, so that's the thing, is adaptation in and of itself is pretty difficult. Taking a novel and turning it into a screenplay from like an actual established novel is difficult. Taking a novel idea and turning it into a screenplay is not nearly as difficult. The reason for that is because there's so much internalization in novels. So if you have an idea that you wrote yourself, you know the internalization, you're familiar with it, like you can do things to better tell a story in a screenplay than someone who is taking it from reading the book. Yeah. But there are also things that can be delivered in a screenplay that can't be in a novel. For example, that fight scene that I was describing in Fear the Siren. Like, that works fairly well in a novel or in a piece of prose, but visually on screen, you can do so much more with that. Because of choreography and effects and stuff. Like, It's different. And like so the thing is that in general, authors don't really get to adapt their own screenplay unless they're very famous or they make it part of the deal. Because most of the time what happens is someone licenses your rights. Oh yeah, so screenwriting is the art of writing a screenplay. Yeah. Oh, and then other things, like you can, for example, in a novel you might spend be like Tolkien and spend like 2 pages describing a scene when you can show that in one shot, in 1 second, on a screenplay. Like, so there's other focuses. It's really different. And you're right. I mean, being a director doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be a screenwriter or anything. Like, in fact, I would argue in most cases it's the opposite. Being a director and a screenwriter are two entirely different skills. The thing about it is as a screenwriter, you have to learn what does and does not work on the screen. That's part of your job, just like knowing what does and doesn't work in a novel. It is the way it is. And I definitely am a proponent. If it works best as a screenplay, I would leave it as a screenplay. It's funny that you should say that, Durrani. It's funny that you should say that. Example number 1. And where's example number 2? I know you're here somewhere. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So, there's 2 ways that you can look at this. The first one is this guy here. I'm sorry I don't have the slipcover for it. I've never read this, to be honest. It was given to me at one point. But this is a novelization of the Star Wars Episode 1 movie by Terry Brooks. So this is what we call a novelization. It's a novel version of a movie. My Star Wars stuff is put away right now, but I also have like the actual episode 4 one, episode 5 one. Like I have a bunch of them as well. So yeah, it does happen. For novelizations, it tends to be sci-fi fantasy stuff more so than others, and from what I've seen. But that might be just because that's a lot of the genre that I see on a regular basis. So that's the main way that you'd see a screenplay turned into a novel. And these are interesting because novelizations tend to show this like entirely weird perspective of things because you get that internalization. So there's totally that. And novelizations can be very hit or miss. Sometimes they're really ridiculous. I've heard that the episode 1 novelizations are much better than the films because they reveal a lot more about characters in the right way. So there is that. The other way, and for this one, it's a little bit more involved of an example because you actually have to go and read the special edition that has like the intro and all that stuff. So this is Steven Erickson's Gardens of the Moon. I don't know if you ever heard me talk about it. I'm a big fan of the Malazan Book of the Fallen. Really like this author. He's Canadian. Anyway, so this book series, and it's a huge book series, was originally a screenplay. He co-wrote a screenplay with a man by the name of God, what's his name? Oops. Blah blah blah. I think it was this one. Right, yeah, here we go. Ian Cameron Esselmont. And I can go to my main screen here so you can see this. So it was devised as a setting for a role-playing game, and then they wrote Gardens of the Moon as a movie script. Which they completed, and then they were like, no, like, no one's ever gonna buy this script. It's way too dense, there's too much going on. So what they did was they adapted it into a book, and, well, Steven Erikson adapted it into a book and made a novel that actually sold really, really well. Yes, for sure. And there's a reason for that too, Johnny. The reason that there are so many more novels made into screenplays is because Hollywood won't make original films. And that's not... and there's a very good reason for that, and it's not because they don't like originality or anything like that, or they're not striving to be original. It's because original movies don't sell. There are very few that sell. So what you do when you license the rights to a movie, you're actually getting this whole like established fan base, established market for your movie. You don't have to deal with like trying to figure out why people are going to be interested in it. People are going to be interested in it. So that's the reason why there's so much adaptation right now. In general, the market's not good. Films are not doing well in box office because box office is just not doing great. Movie theaters are dying. Like, there's this whole thing about what it is, right? And I'm not talking specifically about YA novels, by the way. There's a lot of great examples and great films that are adaptations. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's unfortunate because it means that, you know, companies aren't willing to risk money on good original ideas. Fair enough, and I totally agree with voting with your dollars. You should be doing that if you don't like something. It's like I don't go see every single superhero movie in theaters because I don't think that all of them deserve my money, despite the fact that I love superhero films. You know. Right? Like, voting with your dollar is very important. It's just like, I've been talking a lot with some of my friends where I'm going to go see the Wonder Woman movie whether I think it's good or bad. Because I want it to be successful so that studios will make more women superhero films. It's as simple as that. If it doesn't succeed, they're not going to want to promote more women superhero films. And that's an unfortunate mindset, but in the same sense, they are very, very... business minds, like, it's a very business mindset of making money. And as much as you hate those Spider-Man reboots, and I do too, people go see them. People see them, they make money. Like, you literally make money on the Spider-Man name. And part of that is also because if they don't make a movie within a certain time period, they lose the rights to Spider-Man. Which is why it's gone back to Marvel Studios. The rights have reverted back to Marvel. So no other studio can now make it. It's the same reason why they keep making X-Men films, for that same reason. Because if Fox stops making X-Men films, they will no longer hold the rights to X-Men. And Marvel will get them back. So yeah, it's this whole business mindset of the way the movie industry works, and it's changing a bit. For example, special effects technology has changed a lot of things. It's way more approachable. It's way less expensive. It's easier to do. So there are things now where, you know, movies like Ex Machina can come out, like solid indie, like low budget but look great films that do well, that can compete with the big monsters. Not necessarily in the same way. There are definitely trade-offs, but I'm just saying that there's a lot going on right now that can help balance that out. Not to mention, things like Netflix and all that are changing the way that places buy movies, that movies get distributed. Miniseries are a big thing right now, as well, and I think miniseries lend itself a lot better to novels in a certain sense. Not entirely across the board, but in a certain sense. So yeah. Anything that I missed? Was there anything that I missed? All right. I mean, yes and no. The movie industry is kind of a weird thing, right? Because we say that, like, when I talk about making money, I don't necessarily mean like making a lot of money. Really, it's to make back the amount of money they spent to make it, which in most cases we're talking is about 100 million or more. So that's a lot of money to invest in something that you have no viable market for necessarily. Right? That's why sequels. That's why there's so many sequels. It's because it has a viable market and can potentially do well. And series, while they can be cheaper, they're not necessarily cheaper, and it gets different. It's weird. Right, Erica, and I get that. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do too. The thing about it is it's easier than ever to do that. You don't have to be a person who gets in with a giant publishing company who has a giant promotion wing and all that stuff to be successful. It's not that type of way. It's a very different market. Me and Sam have talked a lot about Andy Weir, the guy who wrote The Martian. Andy Weir released all of his stuff for free on his website, including The Martian. And basically, the idea is that that's a very good way to promote your work. Being on Twitch is a very good way to promote your work. You instantly have an audience of people who are interested. So that you can do a print run and people will buy physical copies or whatever, or buy ebooks off Amazon for their Kindle. You're establishing a market. Neil Gaiman talked a little bit about this when he was, back to Big Face for a bit. When he talked about piracy. The thing about piracy, and I agree that piracy does hurt the economy in general. The thing about it is, though, is that there's a false logic there of saying, well, every one of those is a sale. And the answer is, well, kinda. In actual fact, in most cases, those people would not buy that. They wouldn't buy the thing that they're pirating. That's the whole reason why they're pirating in the first place. It's one of those things like, when I was 12 years old and couldn't afford movies or comic books and stuff, I pirated a lot of stuff. I admit that. I don't do it very much anymore because I have actual money and can get things better in better ways, in easier ways, So yeah, it's one of those things where, someone who pirates your work, well, maybe the next time you release something, they'll buy it because they really like the thing that they pirated. I would not have the love I have for Neil Gaiman or Alan Moore if it wasn't for pirating. 100%. Sandman changed my life. Everything Alan Moore does is fantastic. But those are people that I never would have read except for the internet. Like, it is what it is. And I totally do. Like, I support those people. Like, those are people I love. And every time I go out, I buy something by them. When they release something new, I buy something by them. It is the way it is. I'm just saying, though, that are you willing? It's exactly the same problem that I'm talking about with the movie industry. Are you willing to spend money on an unknown? On something you've never heard of? If it's $2, fine. $4 maybe. $10? $12? $20? $40? Like, where's your limit of, like, I'm willing to give this a chance? And for most of us, like, I don't have a ton of money. I'm not broke, but I don't have a ton of money. Like, I only have so much extra cash that I can spend on things, So, right, like, are you willing to invest money in that stuff? That's expensive. That's hella expensive. I mean, it's only $12 Canadian for a regular movie ticket. More if you're going to IMAX and stuff. But damn, that's expensive. And I hear you. Like, it's one of those things that the theater industry is hurting really, really bad right now. And honestly, I'm not sure how much longer they're going to be able to hold out. I'm really not sure. I don't know. I'm thinking 5 years tops, 10 years if they're lucky. Like, it's different. It's different now. It's a whole different ballgame. And I hate to use this as my go-to example, but it's really one of the main things is Netflix changed everything. Netflix changed everything. The internet destroyed the video rental business. On demand, like, we're in a whole different world. And that's exciting. That's really exciting. I can't wait to see what comes next. But it's weird, right? Exactly, Erica. And like, are you going to spend like, and that's my point about movies being worth it. Like, are you willing to take a chance on a movie that you've never heard of, by someone you've never heard of? Probably not. I mean, maybe not. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe that's what you go for. Some people do. Uh, I'm not judging. I'm just saying that, like, for me, if I'm gonna go to the movies, it's for something I actually want to see in a theater. Like, I don't see comedy films in theaters because I don't think they're worth it in general. I do see action films in theaters because, in general, they can be worth it. Sci-fi fantasy films, definitely worth it. That I will say this to this day. I think Gravity is the only movie I've ever seen that if you didn't watch it in the theater, you lost. It makes no sense to see it in, like, at home. It's literally like a theater movie because you have that deep resounding silence and the space expanse is bigger than you can, like, it invades your vision. I think that movie is so much more powerful in a theater. But yeah, like, yeah. So circling back to my point there, is that we live in a time where finding your niche can support you, where ebook publishing is the greatest thing ever, and is only growing. Um, things like supporting people on Patreon, Twitch, there's so many more, kickstarting projects. Like, there's so many more ways to be a creative person than there used to be. You don't need to have a giant, huge backing behind you. I have not tried Adrift yet, but I assume it's exactly the same thing that I'm talking about right now, which is why you're bringing it up, where you get that sort of expanse, fill your vision thing. Adrift being a VR game, of course. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's easy to be that person, to make a stable living. I'm just saying that it's easier than it used to be. You don't have to be a Stephen King or a John Crichton or whoever, like, to make decent money, to promote yourself, to sell units. It's not that type of world anymore. And frankly, even giving away your stuff for free, you'll find a way to use it to your advantage. I talk to a lot of people about open source software, because I sell computers and stuff, like, for my full-time job. And people are like, oh, it's open source. Doesn't that mean it's bad, or doesn't that mean it's weird, or why don't they want to make money? And it's like, it's not about that. They make money in other revenue streams through what they do. The point is that there's other things supporting that. There's other ways to make money other than making people pay for something. It doesn't have to be that way. For example, I mean, a great example of that is the game engine industry. The way that the game engine industry has become pretty much free until you get to a certain point or need certain features that only a studio would need anyway. Like, they're like, oh, it's free until you're a studio, until you're making money like a studio makes money. In which case, we ask for, like, we ask for some back for supporting you when you're not that studio. It's a very different thing. I don't know if that example made sense, But the gist is like Unreal has like a free there you can get their engine for free until you make I think 15,000 in profit or something, in which case you have to pay a portion back. But that just means you can make games until you're a studio that's big enough to make 15,000 in profit. Like that's a significant amount of profit sales for a video game. Significant enough anyway. Right? Like it's a different world. It's a different world where, you know, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately because a lot of my friends have talked to me about things I want to do, and like I would love to be a game designer and do some of that stuff. I would love to do that. I would love to write for video games, like write for Telltale or Double Fine or somebody like that. Like I would love to do that eventually in my career. Just like Goyer did it. Goyer wrote the script to Call of Duty Black Ops, so like it happens for sure. But it's so much easier now to make games. The tools are available to everybody. You don't need a giant 100-person team to make a solid game. I mean, you think about stuff that came out in the last little while. Stardew Valley, made by one guy. Took him a while, but made by one guy. Like, No Man's Sky. They're a team of what, 20 now? Maybe? Not even? I'm not saying No Man's Sky was great, but you know, like it is a good it's a good example of what you can do as an indie company. Yeah, they have 15 employees. 15. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it takes time to do. Video games are not an easy thing to just churn out or anything. But I'm just saying, you know, you can make something good now in a way that you never could 20 years ago. I mean, think about it this way. The team sizes are back to the way that they were when we first started video games. But look at the difference in what they can do. So yeah. Man, that was like 45 minutes of me just telling things and saying things. Damn. I kind of want to, but at the same time I don't. To be honest, my programming skills are not up to snuff and I don't have the right software installed. It's something I do want to do though. I mean, when we talked about it yesterday about like making things like VR writing software and stuff, like I would love to work on that. I would love to be a creative person designing and doing things with that. That'd be fantastic. I just don't have the chops to do it in the way that I want to, unfortunately. Now I found like I'm making excuses like, I could do that smart thing you're saying, but no, I don't want to. But yeah. Hey, Willow, what's up, man? I was just talking about how much I want to do game design. Like how much I would like to do that. And how much I've wanted to do that for a long time. It's not something I was talking to my friend Mike Hahn about it, saying like it's not necessarily something I want to do as like my only job, but it's something I would like to do in general. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird, right? Learn how to do it. Yeah, that'll be an enjoyable stream. Just like me with manuals open. And that's one of the things I'm planning on doing in the new year. Is I'm gonna do more of a focus on some of the other stuff I don't get to do. I'm gonna have a lot more time. So I'm gonna, play more music. Been trying to get back into that a little bit, and learn to draw and make video games and do creative things outside of just being a writer. But you guys are right. I mean, maybe I should make more of a focus on interactive fiction. Like, get my name out there for doing interesting things. In the way that I can do it now until I can get a bigger team. Something to think about. I'll think about it. So yeah, any questions on any of that stuff I just said for like the last 45 minutes or however long it's been? Please let me know. Now's your chance. There we go. That's better. You may start streaming now. Thank you. I appreciate that. I needed your permission. It was the one thing I was waiting for. All right. So I'm gonna take a few minute break. I need to get some water because I just talked for like an hour. But yeah, quick break. I'll actually make it a real break this time, not like crazy long or anything. I promise. But yeah, I'll be back in a few minutes. See you all then. Alright, we're coming back. Cool. I'm back. Bye, Droney. So yeah, going all the way back to how I first started the stream, I'm thinking of doing maybe a short comic book today, or yeah, today. And I think Droney has a point. She's gone, so she won't hear me say this, which is awesome. Ha. Maybe I will do some more interactive fiction stuff over the next couple of days. We'll see. We'll see how long this comic takes. Maybe I can do half and half, something like that. That sounds alright. I'll think about it. So, I'm gonna go to our main screen here, and I'm gonna open up a new project. Script writing, comic scripts. That's fine. Put in. Kiami Biak. Keeps opening on the other window. Cool. Bam. Comic scripts. And I'm going to take this folder. If I can, I should be able to, if I'm not mistaken. If I shrink this. Shrink. I'm fairly certain I can drag and drop this into here. And I can. Excellent. Cool. Nice. So comics are kind of in a similar but different ballgame in a lot of ways. First of all, they are still text. So all of the stuff that applies to reading still applies. Your dialogue needs to be clear. Your dialogue, there's interesting things you can do with dialogue on a comic. For example, off-panel stuff, you can't tell who's speaking unless their dialogue is very distinctive. So yeah, like you have to be more on point with that kind of thing. You can't just tell by a voice. You can have inner thoughts. It's very easy to do inner thoughts in comics. The thought bubble, of course. Also, things like narration works fairly well in comics, more so than in film. I don't like narration in film. Don't get me started on it. In general, you should not have narration in film, ever. Because it's a cop-out. And, what else? But then, yeah, you get a lot of that visual elements. You need to think in terms of panels and visuals, movements. You can't say things like Spider-Man runs, jumps, and flips in one panel. You have to kind of break that down into what's the most essential elements. So yeah. I'm going to make a bunch of new pages here. Alright. It's Control N, Control T. No, that's not it. It's Control Shift N, Control T, if I'm not mistaken. I knew what this was. God damn it. I learned this the other day and I was doing so well. Oh, it's Control T, Control N. That's what it is. There we go. So I'm just gonna make a bunch of pages here. So that I can do this, I'm gonna put that. So this is the little bit of text from the original concept that I developed a few episodes ago. Probably about 3 weeks ago now, 3-4 weeks. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use these little cards here as sort of my outline. I mean, that's what they're designed to be used for. So I'm going to break down, I'm going to take like these sentences and I'm going to put them on individual pages where I think they should be split up. So this is one page, probably. Say that's one page. Cool. Second page. Oh, this is probably not readable. Let's toss that up. Okay. Say 3. Ugh. Change my mind. These are probably going to be a little hard to read, aren't they? See if I can fix that real quick. Well, I prefer that anyway. Can't make them bigger. I need to make them bigger. Oh, cool. I didn't even know this was a thing. Nice. Well, that's useful. Things you learn by accident. And just trying things out. Because now I can just make this font bigger, and it should be fairly readable. We'll say 20. Cool. Better. I'll take it. Better. Much better. Things are good. Yay. Okay. I also think this is probably the first page. Yeah. So then we go, I think this will be the second page. This would be 2, 3. Yeah, gotcha. And I'll explain what I'm doing when I'm doing this in a second. So this will be the second one. This will be the 6th page. Cool. I realized that I don't actually want to change any of that. Cool. Save. Gotcha. One, two, three, four, five, six, 7. 8 and 9. Hey McKelly, what's up, man? I thought you were making 3D models. So, well, I am. Perfect. Flip to another couple pages. A couple pages in there. Oh yeah? How so, man? How are you getting stuck? Okay, so we're gonna go back to Big Face for a bit. Okay, so when you're working on a comic, there's a couple things you need to keep in mind. And the reason why I kept doing like this motion is because I was counting pages. The reason I was counting pages is that, I don't know if you can see this. This is a custom notebook I had my friend who's a printer make. It's got grid paper on one side and these guys on the other. So when you're working on a comic, page 1 is by itself, and then you flip the page and it's 2, 3. Flip the page, 4, 5, down here, 4, 5. Flip the page, blah, 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 and it goes on like that, right? So the interesting thing, so the thing to keep in mind is that your even pages are always going to be on the left, and your odd pages are always going to be on the right. And the reason that this is important is because, at least the way that I approach it, is I like any new information to happen on an even page. So for example, a location switch should probably happen on an even page unless it's a direct transition. Right? Like that's the way that I tend to structure the stuff that I work on. Because I find it very, a lot easier to understand in that way. I should have a comic book nearby. Not that one. I'm not allowed to show that on stream. Where did you So, Iron Man, free comic book day. This is page 1. Add here. Flip the page. Page 2, 3. So this is exactly what I'm talking about, where, you don't tend to find as many ads anymore. So that's not a huge issue. But yeah. Like, you should probably structure your stuff like that. For example, they have this page here, and I think this is a little jarring. But it's probably due to advertisements that happen like this, where you go from this character to this character at a different time. I feel like that's not... It's too distracting, because you can instantly see the difference of the page. Yes, and exactly. I love 2-page spreads. Not so much necessarily like a just one image across 2 pages. I like 2-page spreads like this. Oh, other way, so I can see it too. Where you have multiple panels, but you have this like big image centering it. I like this kind of stuff a lot. And I will catch up to the chat in a moment. Cool. So yeah, this is like free comic book day Iron Man issue from a couple years ago. It was the first thing I could grab. It was the closest thing. So, McKelly, supposed to conceal in a wall underneath a hexagon pass that flops open, it comes out. Oh, okay, I see. I've always been a fan of like the and yay for having pencils out. I've always been kind of a fan of this kind of thing, where like you almost the bottom of the hexagon's trying to like attach to the bottom and like just pops down. But that's me. Not everyone likes that kind of thing. I drew it really, really poorly. So yeah. Hey Bode, what's up, man? I agree with you about the 2-page spreads. Draft is just starting. We're just getting there. I spent like 50 minutes talking about the movie industry and comic books and adaptations and stuff because people kept asking questions. So, it happened. And yes, it is a Blue Jay. It's a baseball team. And that's totally a bot. Definitely. Hexagons are the shape of the future. They are way more efficient than squares. Oh yeah. So the main reason why I have a notebook like this is so that I can doodle panel layouts in here to give myself a good idea of what I'm looking at. It helps me when I'm thinking visually like that. I was avoiding it, okay, Sam? You always gotta bring it up. Change this to that. Change this to this. So yeah. I know how much you like adaptation. I'm just saying. Now, one thing to note is that comic books are one of the most individually styled types of scripting out there. The film industry has a fairly distinct standard, as does plays. They have fairly distinct standards for how you should be formatting them, and what information should be included and what information should not be included. For example, you're not supposed to give stage directions in plays. Actors don't like it. They really don't, and neither do directors, stage directors. They prefer to interpret it their own way, and that's the thing that happens in stage a lot. But comic books are very different. Comic books are kind of their own thing. There's no real defined style, though there are a few similar ones or generalities that tend to happen. For example, you should always start with a page heading, as you see there on my screen, and a panel, and have your panels separated, so that you can tell which ones are in which panels are which. I prefer having a. This is the type that Anthony Johnson uses. The guy who wrote Wasteland. He also wrote Dead Space, the video game. So yeah, this is his template. I really like it. It works really well in Scrivener because of the really cool compiling elements of the software, as well as. So yeah, I like having a separate panel, like panel on a separate line. I've seen a few where like you do like panel period, like panel 1 period, and then go on from there. I find it gets really difficult if you need to have more than one paragraph. That kind of format, because in that format it looks like every panel is a paragraph, and it gets confusing. I find, to see where the panels actually break up. So in this type of formatting, I can have multiple paragraphs within the panel. You probably shouldn't have that many multiple paragraphs within a panel. It's not, like, that seems like a lot of stuff to have in one panel. But I'm just saying that it's visually easier to tell from the get-go. And that's important in scripts. You should be able to visually tell things fairly easily. So yeah. So I'm going to take my description here. Cut and paste it. And I'm going to break this up into more distinct groups of like what I think panel should be. So like I think that should be a panel. I think that should be a panel. And I think that should be a panel, probably. So break that up. Go panel number. There we go. Cool. So now we have the start of a page, a basic breakdown of taking the text that I had already written and moving it into this sort of format. Yeah. When I am not working off of prose work, what I tend to do is I tend to do like a very light breakdown of, say, what do I want in this issue? I want the main confrontation from blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, what are the parts of that confrontation? There's a fight, they talk, they make up, whatever. Right? So then I say, well, the fight's going to be I don't know, 4 pages. Their talking is going to be 2 pages. Making up is going to be a page. So there, then I have, I can show you. So then I generally know what's kind of going on. If I show you something I worked on, or something I've been working on from a while back, this here. See, like, it's like, page 1 is this, page 2 is this. So I know kind of what I want and how I want it to be paced and what the flips look like why I'm flipping at certain points, and obviously, Sam, that's the obvious answer there. And then I take each page and be like, so in this page I need this to happen, so how do I make that happen? Like what visual elements make up those things? I want to be a star. Why do I want to be a star? What? What just happened? I do things a little bit differently. You don't take it off. Whatever, bro. Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna leave that big. So yeah, I do things a little differently. I like doing layouts. You don't have to do layouts as the scripter. I'm a big fan, if you're here for the first part, I'm a big fan of Alan Moore. Alan Moore is very explicit in the way that his layouts go. Other writers are not so much. You don't have to be that way. I just tend to think better that way, and it helps me see how I'm telling the story when I do layouts. For today, probably not going to bother. I don't think it's necessary. A good comic artist doesn't need a layout necessarily. In fact, some of them are insulted by layouts. So yeah. Depends what you like. So I'm just going to delete that. I just put it there to give an example. This is going to be a kind of an explicit comic, isn't it? Oh, well, you know. We'll see how it goes. So, the interesting thing to note about scripting, you should not be very verbose. You should be as clear and direct as possible. Whoops. You should, in general, only describe visuals, things that the reader or writer can see. In this case, that does include sound effects, because sound effects are visuals in comics, just as is text and dialogue. So you should only describe visuals and how we interpret those visuals. You should never describe feelings or sounds unless they help inspire the visuals. Or not sounds, feelings or emotions or smells or whatever, only if they help describe the visuals. For example, if you were describing a sewer, you might want to describe how bad it smells only in the way that you can visually tell that it smells bad. Like weird scents wafting up from the water and stuff. You don't want to... it's not helpful for the it's unnecessary information is what I'm saying. Oh, also, in general, scripts should be in present tense, not past tense. Things are happening, not have happened. That's just a general movie rule, used mostly in the movie industry. I think it applies here as well. You want to describe what's happening, like at this moment, not what has happened. It's just easier that way. Well, I'm not going to describe any of that. We should have dialogue here. Scrivener automatically formats my dialogue. You should always start with the character's name. And then you write the dialogue directly after. The only exception to that being if you wanted to put parentheses indicating some sort of way that that the speech is different. For example, if you wanted a whisper or a shout or certain things, this should not be like stage directions. You shouldn't be saying how he's saying it. It's really like if there's a visual difference to a certain thing, like a whisper would be represented differently in the typesetting than like a shout, or certain things like what I'm going to write here. I'm going to write off panel because he's outside of the frame. Change this close up on an iron ring of 7 fingers being put on the quartermaster's wooden table. Here on off panel. So I didn't write any dialogue in the original prose. What do you think he would say? What do you think Pharaon would say? What does Pharaon look like? How should we describe him? The best assassins are ones who blend in. Oh yeah, the other important note about dialogue is that you should list dialogue and sound effects in the order in which they're seen, top to bottom. Again, just improves readability. It's easier for a typesetter, letterer, as it is termed in the comics industry, to set that. Because they can see it in order, they know where things go, it's easier. So I'm going to put an SFX, stands for sound effect. It's the most common way to write it. Excuse me. It also stands for special effects, but in this instance it stands for sound effects, and is the most common abbreviation of sound effect. So I'm going to put a thump here. Let me check something real quick. Here. Oh yeah, it is still here. I will include a link to this in the page on my description for the video. on my website. And I had a sheet. Where'd it go? Oh, of course. I'm not using a sheet at all, actually. Where's my... Okay, there we go. Boogie board. Useful thing. Dark Horse PDF. Cool. So yeah, this is the Dark Horse formatting. My formatting is not the same as this, and that's fine. The one thing I did want to look at, though... Yeah, see, they're doing exactly what I said. They're just formatting it a little bit differently. No, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, see here. All dialogue, sound effects, and captions should be listed in the order in which they should be read in the final art. Oh, I did forget about this, though. I should mention that. You should have 25 words per balloon. Per balloon. Balloon, yes. Like speech bubble. And 50 words per panel max. That's something that Alan Moore talks about a lot about, where that's like his straight up rule, is that he doesn't do more than that. It's interesting to talk about. Mostly that's what's been recommended by most of the people I've read. But I don't know. Caption. It's been a good day. No shortage of jobs since the arrival of the royal entourage in the city. Should I make this 5 panels? I should make this 5 panels. I think this should be a separate panel. No, I changed my mind. I'm going to flip this back around. Okay. So. Just thinking in terms of visuals, how I would represent these panels. Again, you don't have to do layouts or anything like that. It helps me think. So how would I do this? I'm a big fan of Alan Moore. I keep talking about that. but it's really influenced the way that I approach comics. I really like square panels. I really like very block layouts. Example, in here, if you look at one of the projects that I've worked on recently, this is the layouts for it. It's like very square. I like that style. That's not for everyone. It depends on what you like. I don't know if I'm gonna do that here, but well, I'm not doing layouts, so it doesn't really matter either way. But just wanted to think about it a little bit visually. I heard you were a fan of Alan Moore. Oh my God! How did you know? Be like a table, and it'd be thumb, fingers. Hey Tanshi, what's up, man? Yeah. Down, sides, hand into shirt. You all are gonna laugh at my drawing, but it's fine. It's fine, okay? Awesome, man. That sounds great. So, this is kind of how I visualize the first page. Yeah. You got like your close-up shot of the rings, and then them two talking to each other. This looks really silly. The way I laid it out makes no sense. He hides the letter in his cloak. He flips up his hood, and then he walks out the door. And then your captions are kind of like here, here, and here sort of thing. Captions. Make sense? That's just the way I visualized it. It doesn't have to be that. So, then I look at this and say, what am I missing? Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a purpose for this. I just kind of wanted to do work on a project for this week, and I decided comics were what I wanted to do. because that's really what I'm working on right now. And I really I keep saying really. I think I very much think that scripting is much more my forte than prose is, for sure. Hopefully you all agree with me. And I'm not just crazy. Oh, what action? Oh, we could do oh, I see what yeah, okay. I got an idea here. So really, what I want to do is I want to take this caption, put it here, take this caption, put it here, take this caption, put it there. Oh, no, okay, yeah. This is gonna go on the next page, this caption. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna undo all that. I changed my mind. I'm gonna take this panel, this caption, and I'm going to bring it to the next page, where it'll be in panel 1. Cool. And just want to make this real quick. Should it not be doing that? I'm confused. There we go. That's better. I find it too hard to read when the text gets to the bottom of the screen. I don't mind it personally so much on my screen, but I feel like on the stream it looks really weird. So yeah. Hopefully it's fixed now. Should be fixed now. Yeah. Okay. I got it. Okay. It annoys me that I start every panel here with Pharaon, but honestly, it's not a huge deal in comics. Repetition is not a big deal, except in dialogue. As long as your image is clear, and I feel like having him start that action every single time keeps the image much clearer. So I'm gonna keep it for now. Okay, page 2. This will actually be the second panel. Should be the second panel? Huh. Yeah, it would be a small inset. And then it would be... Yeah, because I was playing a 2-page spread here. Yeah, I got you. Yeah. I got it. Don't worry, guys. I got it. So I select this all. Go down here a bit. Throw it in. So again, here's our text from the thing. Hey Johnny, how was exercise? I assume that's what you were doing. So this should be that panel. That's unnecessary. This should be the next panel here. Should be a separate panel? Probably. Yeah, I hear you, Johnny. I am working on the comic draft. So here. I know, Sam. I was ignoring them. Well, that reminds me. I have that thing I need to send you. So yeah, I'm gonna take a break. It's just after 2 o'clock now, so I'm gonna take another few minute break, and I will come back and keep working on this. I feel like I should be able to get at least 1 or 2 more pages done. So I'm just gonna compile this real quick, just so I can show it off. And you can tell me what you think. Pop is open. I didn't fill out any of this stuff, so that's fine. This is what it effectively looks like. It populates the panel numbers, page numbers. I'll fix that so it's more legible. We're starting to get a sense of like what it looks like, right? See what I mean about the like having the panel separate? So I can have multiple paragraphs here, and I will probably in panel 2 of this page. So yeah, it's much easier to tell like where the splits are. It makes a difference. All right, cool. So yeah, break time. See y'all in a bit. Alright, here we go. Coming back. I have no idea how long that was. I was working on website stuff while you guys were not here. Let's just get this one done, and then I will be perfectly ready to go. I think that should be good. Perfect. We're good to go. All right. Close all that. Perfect. I think Girani's statement is accurate. I think I'm a good editor, but I'm a critical editor. So I'm tough, but fair. I also don't hesitate to point out rough spots and things. So yeah, depends what you're looking for, really. I read it. You don't understand, Girani? I've had to listen to those limericks for like a week. Like every day. He's getting good at them, but I'm just saying, oh. Oh yeah? When do you need me? No, I'm not currently working on a novel. That's not happening. I don't have time for that. No, I'm working on a graphic novel, which is different. Well, it's a miniseries, technically. Not this one. Not the one I'm working on right now. Another one. Oh, you're so gonna sing that at the thing, aren't you? Damn it. Oh, you want me to be a judge? Sure, yeah. No problem. I can do that. December is tough, but I'll make time. That's fine. I'm also in the D&D campaign, by the way, for those who are interested. Me and Sam are playing an RL, Dungeons & Dragons, with a bunch of people from work, mostly. Interesting. It sounds interesting. I'm into it. Why not? I'll do it. I'll do it. Send me the deets. Yeah, that works. That works much better for me. Okay, that sounds legit. I can do that. Before Christmas is just tight because at work it gets insane. So I'm gonna be really busy putting in the OT hours and stuff. I don't know who Final Boss is though, by the way. I assume he's a streamer. Cool. Yeah, work is no bueno till January, 100%. Okay, cool. His website's like mine. It's crazy. Anyway, sorry. I am. I'm not in your Discord anymore, unfortunately. I don't know what happened. I swear to God. I looked at it one day and it was just gone, and I was like, what the hell? I got it, don't worry. There we go. I'm in. Alright. We're good. That's cool. We're good. All good. I'm in there. You got 30 more seconds. You can post whatever link you want. Hey, everyone, what's up, man? All right, buddy. How do you spell livery, Sam? Is that how you pronounce it? You know what servants wear in medieval times? Am I thinking of the right thing? Yeah. What's that term? God. Yeah, I got it right. It's a livery. I don't have audio on.
Livery. Livery.
Yeah. It is a special uniform worn by a servant or official. Bam. We're good. I don't think that's necessary because it's probably already done. Probably. So yeah, that makes sense to me, I think. Sorry. Just sketching out my thoughts again. Find it really helps with comics and that kind of thing. For sure. For sure. Okay, cool. Alright. Yeah, so at least 3 panels. At least 3 panels. Oh, whoops. Whoopsie. So there's one thing I wanted to look at real quick, and I will also include this link. Let me open it up here first, just to be sure. Ah, there you are. So I like this place a lot. It's one of the few resources I've actually seen about writing comic books in general. But they have a whole giant script here of where's the, is it all just on this page, or do they have, it's just all on this page. Ah, cool. Anyway, there's a whole set of scripts here by various people. Oh, Skullkicker's #1, super cool. Bam. I'm definitely going to read this after the stream. But I just wanted to see... Oh yeah, so he's doing a thing that I probably should do more of. That I haven't done in this script, but I do in general. You'll see a lot of cinema language, and that's a very common thing to see in comic book writing, because it is a visual medium. So it's very, very common. So I'm gonna look at it in chat. I have to run to the bathroom, So I'll be back in a minute. If you guys want to take a look, I'll leave this open here. BRB. Okay, I'm back. Right. Sorry. Need to not read this on screen. I am totally gonna read this after though. I want to read it. I want to read it so bad. It's so cool. Anyway, that script archive is really neat. It's got a lot of interesting stuff. Read one of Alan Moore's scripts. Like, why does he write in all caps? I don't. It's so terrible. It's so terrible. But he does it all the time. Yeah. And you can see here in the first page here, 6-panel page, regular grid, 3 tiers of 2 panels each. Like, this is the kind of thing that I picked up. Yeah, man, it's all caps all the time. That's also, how many pages is this? Oh, this is 39 pages. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. That's what Alan Moore does. 39 pages for a 24-page comic script. In general, I do one printed page. Well, you should always start a new page. You shouldn't do this. See this? This is bad. You should start a new page for every comic page. So page 22 should start on a new page. But anyway, mine are like super light compared to this. Yeah. Anyway, that's what Alan Moore does. If you ever read, this is the first 12 pages of The Killing Joke. It is insane. Do I have something that'll actually open this? Apparently not. Not entirely. Ugh. Yeah. Well. And by first 12 pages, they mean the first 12 comic book pages. Let's see. Print preview. How many pages is this? Yeah. Like somewhere in the 35 plus range for the first 12 pages of The Killing Joke. It's craziness. Craziness. Yeah. Ooh, interesting. It's probably not going to open correctly. Whatever. That's an interesting note, actually. To have the notes at the beginning. I hadn't thought of that, but it makes a lot of sense. Especially the characters part, where you can kind of just describe your characters and who they are, what they're wearing. I tend to do it like in the script itself. That being said, I come from a screenwriting background, and that's very much a different ballgame. As well as I don't tend to have characters wear the same thing all the time. I tend to have them be a little bit more real, like switch outfits and change things and stuff. So, you know. But like I said, comic book scripts are extremely different no matter who you ask. I can close that. Just random stuff open. Close that. You're cool. I'm going to reference you. Steven Erickson. Yeah. Anyway. Cool. That page is done. Should be Gerd. Oh, I did it again. Perfect. Got it. What? Oh. Right, I see what you mean. It depends. It depends on what you do. I've seen a lot of different people do a lot of different things. I think manga artists are very good at changing outfits, better than most. It depends. It depends a lot. It depends on the style you're going for too. Like, if it doesn't make sense for them to change clothes, then they shouldn't change clothes. Like, if it's all taking this in place in the span of like a day, like, do you change your clothes that many times during a day? Maybe if you were doing different activities, I suppose, but if you're not, or you're on the run or whatever, it doesn't tend to happen. I don't know. Well, where'd Iron Man go? There he is. Yeah. See, Stark's dressed in a suit. Stark's dressed in a SHIELD uniform. Some evil guy, don't care. Stark's dressed in Iron Man armor. Yeah, interesting. Stark's dressed in different Iron Man armor. Yeah. Yeah, it just depends, like, what you're going for. Like, I find more cartoony styles don't tend to change up nearly as much, while more realistic styles do. It depends on the inspiration as well. And I realize now when I say manga, I actually mean shoujo manga specifically, more so than shonen manga. I don't think shonen does nearly as good of a job as shoujo manga, but that's possibly just the gender difference of those audiences. Actually, oh, perfect. I actually have a decent basis for this, but I want to talk a little bit about it, like film terminology. I'm not perfect at it. Yeah, see medium shot, that's what I was thinking of. A cowboy shot. Deep focus is really cool. Yeah. This is really actually a really awesome resource with all the different links, YouTube links. Cool. I will link that as well. But I want a medium shot here. Nice. Hey Ward, what's up, man? So this is another interesting note about the difference between scripting a comic and scripting a film. You wouldn't try and do this in a film so much. In a comic is important because you're establishing visual shots in a very different way. Like you wouldn't put a medium shot in a film script either. That's for the director to decide or the director of photography. You shouldn't have those in your scripts. And a comic script is a little different. Again, because the storytelling style is different. You're trying to capture specific instances. So there's this sort of, in most of the scripts I've read, and I've read at least, I don't know, I'd say probably 25 comic scripts or more from various professional comic book writers. And there's a lot of addressing. You can address the artist inside the script, or you can say, we see this, or we can see this detail, that sort of thing. Like you can address the reader in a way that you can't do in film scripts. Because those details are important or change the narrative or make it more interesting, whatever. Right? Like I'm trying to establish a sort of feeling of claustrophobia almost. I think that's what I mean here. Like I want the guards to be big and imposing here. I want to get that sort of sense. So I want them to be in every sort of shot. Yeah, that's true too. There's a lot more or less people reading a comic script. It's also a little bit more personal too, right? Like that's what I mean when you're talking about like addressing the artist. In most cases, you know who the artist is. I'm writing this on spec, but if I wanted to get it published, I'd have to find an artist, so I would know who that is. And exactly. You can have a dialogue with that specific person, what they're good at, what you think, certain things. In fact, great example of that. If we go back to our comic book script here and open up Neil Gaiman's script for Sandman number 24. He literally addresses, well, hi, blah, blah, blah. And he, like, explains where they are in the issue, what's going on, who's going to be there, what we've discussed for, like, art styles or interesting details. Like, he literally has a dialogue with them. So, yeah. That's a great example. I'm glad I had that open. Yeah, you can totally have a dialogue with the artist, and it really helps because you can establish a lot more things. I'm going pretty bare bones at the moment. I'd like to actually expand on some of this imagery, and I probably should put more shots and sort of what's going on. But that's a job for tomorrow, because we're getting close to the end of our time here. Just coming up on the 3-hour mark. So if anyone has any questions that they'd like to ask, now would be the time. Please ask away. I'm happy to answer any questions. As well as I will be back tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as I will be all week. I'll be continuing working on this comic script because I'm enjoying it. I think it's fun. And I think I'm establishing a more interesting story than I was with just the prose piece. I feel a little bit more ingrained in what it's doing. So yeah. Oh, and I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the stream, but I'll mention it now since we're getting to the end now. I have been working on the website. It is mostly finished. I've uploaded all the old stuff. I've fixed things up. I've made it better organizationally. So the only things I have left to do are I need to finish writing all the episode descriptions and providing links and resources and that kind of thing. And as well as I need to finish the project pages that have access to stuff I've worked on through the stream and sort of a brief overview of them. So yeah, if anyone's interested, please check out the website. The URL is right there to my left, your right, my left. Yeah, check out the VODs. There's additional links and resources to stuff that's related to each episode. Things like the comic book strip archive and stuff like that as well. Yeah. Oh yeah, and as always, you can contact me on Twitter. You can contact me via email, as well as I think that's it. I think those are the ways, or directly on Twitch, I guess. Send me a private message. If you have any feedback or want to ask me a question on screen or anything like that, I'm happy to answer. I do have a Discord. I never use it, or very rarely. I will link it now if anyone's interested. You can also contact me on there. Yeah. So, that's about it for me for today. So without further ado, my name is Brendan. This has been Accidental Origin, your weekly writing web show, appearing every day for this week only. Other than that, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. Really enjoyed today. Big improvement over yesterday. Yesterday I was having some, not motivation trouble. I was having trouble getting in the right mindset. There was projects I wanted to work on, but I wasn't working on those projects. I was trying to do something different for this, and I struggled for sure. But a good streamer friend reminded me that failure is the first step in learning. So do what you gotta do, you know? So yeah, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I'll see you all tomorrow.